unfortunately, you can't see my face, but I'm like this. Oh my gosh, what is happening? Like, oh, I was having such a great time watching.
Okay, here's what I'm hearing. How can I still be with the music without going for the most obvious part?
Another thing that is very interesting here is the way that it's playing with the music, because no, this is not just reaction video. It's actually much more than that. The plan here in this video is to first do a deep dive analysis on this amazing dancer. You can see my smile when I'm saying this amazing dancer. It's simply for me, Meech, when I grew up as a dancer in Paris, is one of the dancers till today that was the most impressive for me. And I'm going to do a deep dive for this round that it did at BTM Experience. But not only that, but after, we will also see what is the biggest takeaway from this round and how we can practice this in our dance, right? So that's the plan here. Not only we watch, we analyze, we observe, but secondly, we're trying to see how can we make this practical in our dance. Not necessarily to copy anything, but it actually to see how we can model this to adapt it to your dance, right? So yeah, that's the plan. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, let's do this. See, right from the get-go, you can tell that this is someone who knows what he's doing. Simply because he's really not rushing the process, even though it's a battle. And secondly, that laid-back energy, but at the same time, you've got those that is playing with in such a subtle way without cutting his flow. And he's only getting started. Let's keep watching. Nice. You see how long he's taking he's staying with this energy for so long. Now you might be saying, yeah, but we are at BTM Experience and we have time, we have more time to dance. But it's something that can be applied anytime. I believe it's in a battle, even if you have just 1 minute, you can still take your time at the beginning to introduce your round. It's just your level of execution will make or break your round. But people who've got experience, they can still take their time at the beginning and still manage to build up and create a really powerful round in just 1 minute. And yeah, so let's keep watching. Another thing that is very interesting here is the way that it's playing with the music, because it's not necessarily going for the most obvious beats. The loudest part of the music is not going for them. Most of the time is moving in between, and then it will take something a bit more subtle. It can be or something else, but in between is just flowing, right? And it's not going for the boom. It's basically is not going for the most obvious part of the music. It's flowing with the music, and then only then sometimes you will take some really subtle part of the music. And that's also an interesting way to approach the music. And he's going to be doing that throughout the rounds. So let's keep on going. And we will keep on developing this as well. Let's go. Yeah. And also, what I like about this as well, for those who don't know, Meech is also a great house dancer. So it's almost like he's doing house, but with some sort of a hip-hop vibe to it on that music, because it's still adapting to the music vibe, but the work that he's doing with his footwork is mainly house dance in a way, but again, is to keep on building up what he started with, and is adding more and more to it gradually. And at the same time, you can also see the range of vocabulary that it has, and again, is only at the beginning. Okay, let's talk about this part. When he stop here, see, that's a moment for me. I like to call that like it's a pattern interrupt. He's doing something, and then all of a sudden he stop. But when he stop, it literally completely stop. It's not like is posing, anticipating something else that he's gonna be doing. It's literally stop, look at Kefton and smiling. And obviously this was done very instinctively, but it's not something that you always expect, you know. And there's something also that I get a lot is about posing, right? Because sometimes we just rush the process and we are into our round and we do pretty much everything that we can to fill the gap. And there is never really a moment of silence, a moment of pauses. And being able to have the maturity and also the confidence to just pause and then go back again, right? And it just make the rounds breathe a bit more, but it also creates some sort of a pattern interrupt because it's going, and let's go again, right? So it's a subtle details, but that also make a difference. Let's keep going. So here, since the beginning, the leader is leading with his footwork, right? And he keep on leading with his footwork, and in a way that is not even obvious, the way that is playing with the music. Once again, is not hating everything for the sake of hating them. And now is adding an extra layer by starting some ideas with his arms move and staying on one spot, doing a different rhythm with his footwork. And again, that's a higher level of execution. And look. Yeah. See? different rhythm with his footwork, and now he's gonna go even more with it. Here we go. Oh yeah. Look at me. I was in the event, and I'm over there. Unfortunately, you can't see my face, but I'm like this. Oh my gosh, what is happening? Like, I was having such a great time watching his performance, basically, and yeah, let's keep going. But what I want to highlight here once again is his build up is just remarkable, right? And now that is adding even more his upper body with what was happening with his footwork. He never once cut the floor. He never once had some sort of lagging in terms of his continuity. Even when he paused, it was still part of the flow. It still makes sense, right? So let's keep going. Right. So for me, that's this is one of the rounds at BTM Experience that still till today stays in my mind. And the first few series that I will be doing with that new format is going to be only with videos from BTM Experience. But based on how it goes with that series, and if it's something that you like, we'll manage to keep on doing it. And then you can also share other videos that you would like me to dive deeper into, and then find a takeaway that we can make practical in our dance, right? So this round, once again, it's not the craziest round that it did, right? And for me, I'm not also looking to go for the most hyped round or the craziest round. I'm more looking for subtlety, things where they're not the most flashiest, but we can still learn a lot from them. And this round in particular, from Meech, one of the things that definitely stood out for me is his approach. Yep. His approach with the music. The way that he played with the music was not done in the most obvious one. And secondly, using his footwork in a way that he was playing with a different style. So in most of the time it was his background is in house dance, and adapting it to the moment, to the music, and transforming it completely. But my number one takeaway is the way that he was playing with the music. That is more subtle and less obvious. And this is the things that I want to try to drill, and I'm going to try it, live with you, and see how we could potentially adapting this in our dance, and see how we could get the most out of this round that we just watched. So let's do this, right? Let's go for it, and I'll see you after that. All right, so like I said, we're gonna now work on how we can play with the music differently. And there is so many benefits of learning how to do this, because you're gonna be less predictable in your rounds. You also gonna show a higher level of maturity when it's come to your musicality, right? And the way that Meech was doing it, the goal is, with this video or any other video that I will be doing in that format, is not to replicate what the dancer has been doing, but is to just raise awareness about the principle of it, and then you can apply it in your dance. So the things that I will be sharing with you are only tools that you can use in your own way.
all right? So let's go for it. The first thing that we're gonna do is we want to learn how to play with the music differently, but being intentional about it. And how we're gonna do this, we're gonna use rhythm to shape what we are hearing differently and not only going for the most obvious part, all right? So first, I'm gonna show you a very simple exercise that you can do to train yourself to become better at that. And then we will do that on real song. All right, so we're gonna use the metronome for the first exercise. Reason why we are using the metronome is to really understand how we can play with different rhythm to just play with the music differently without hitting the most obvious part of the beat, okay? So if I play the metronome here, okay? So the most obvious beat is this. Once we understand that, then the next step, we're gonna be like, okay, how can I dance on that without hitting these two obvious parts, right? Can I make a real round without hitting the most obvious part, okay? So we're gonna use rhythm to do this. Different rhythm based on what we are hearing, okay? But let's start with the most obvious one, okay? So if I'm doing this, for example, I am following the music in the most obvious way. Now, I want to get away from that obvious thing, right? And I'm gonna change the rhythm and start playing with it differently. Right? You see, now I'm not hitting those two parts anymore. I'm in between. Right? Now I can decide to shape differently again with a different rhythm. See, I'm not offbeat, but I'm not hitting the most obvious part in the music. I'm shaping it again. So, in this one, I'm not taking the first one, I'm only taking the second one. Right? I'm just shaping the groove differently by playing with different rhythm, right? Boom, boom. Right? So once you understand this approach, you can start training yourself to be like, okay, here's what I'm hearing. How can I still be with the music without going for the most obvious part? Right? And you just do this. You just play with that. You just play with that over and over again. You can say, okay, I'm going to come up with 5 different rhythms, 10 different rhythms, right? And never really go for the most obvious one, okay? And using the metronome is a very good way to simplify the process so you can identify if you are doing the exercise right or not, all right? So that's the first step. right? Now, once you feel a bit more comfortable with that, right, you can start now freestyling on the metronome, right, by only changing your rhythm, and you make a real round with this, okay? Because the first time, the way that we did it, we were just moving from one rhythm to another, to another, to another, to another. So obviously when you are freestyling for real, you don't dance like this, because otherwise it's just gonna be too, it would be only segment of rhythm, segment of rhythm, segment of rhythm. So you've got too much cut in between, right? It's not merging together, right? So what you want to do now is to play the music and start changing the rhythm whenever you feel like it, but in a way that is much more continuous, and make a real round out of it, right? So once you feel ready, you start dancing a bit more with it, right? You can start with the most obvious one, just to make sure. And then you start freestyling. Can also come back to it as well if you want to. All right? So essentially, what you are doing here, you're just training your ear not to go for the most obvious part, right? And then, once you feel more comfortable with that, you can start playing with this for real by going through those 2 stages. So I'm gonna play a song, right? And I'm gonna start with the first stage. Again, this time I'm not going for the most obvious part of the music. Instead, I'm gonna be like, ooh, okay, what if I could play with different rhythm, you know, to still be with the music and adding some more interesting layers to what I'm hearing, okay? Let's go for it. So here, See what I mean? So in this case, I was just changing from one rhythm to another, right? I was not even doing a proper round, right? But I'm saying to myself, okay, let me not go to those most obvious points that I'm hearing, okay? Can I go in between? Can I shape the groove differently by adding different rhythm, right? To play with it, right? So instead of going for all these things, or this, or this one, right? These ones are more obvious, right? And again, there's nothing wrong going for them, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong to do it this way, okay? But when we are approaching our musicality like this, we are learning to have more options, right? And because you have more options, when it's time to dance for real, you have way more tools in your toolbox, and then you just need to choose based on how you feel like moving in the moment. But at least you have more options, right? But again, there's nothing wrong with going for the most obvious part if that's what you want to do, right? And in fact, I would say as a beginner, it's best to understand at least, how to go for the most obvious part, and really be able to dance only with that, right? And then you can start challenging yourself a bit more, right? And make your execution more interesting with the music as well, all right? So this, again, it was just me changing different rhythm and play with the music. And once you learn how to do this and you understand that principle, then the way that you're going to be doing it is going to be different compared to myself, right? But that's exactly the goal, is to only understand the approach, and then you do it how you move, not how I move or how Meech move, okay? So now if I play the same song and I'm going to be dancing in a way where sometimes I will go for the most obvious parts, right? Because if I'm doing a real round, I want to combine both. Sometimes I'm going to go for the most obvious part, and sometimes I'm going to play with different rhythm to make what I'm doing with the music more interesting, okay? And playing in between, sometime. And sometime I would go for the most obvious part as well, all right? So essentially, now I'm going to be doing more like a normal round, okay? Using that principle. Let's go. Here we go, right? So again, understand the principle, use it in your own way. Use it with your natural way of moving. Just by training your mind to not go all the time for the most obvious bit. You're gonna deepening your relationship with the music, all right? So that's the message here. So if you like this type of videos, like I said, for the first few videos, I'm going to use only BTM experience rounds. But if you'd like to see some other rounds from dancers that you really enjoy watching, and don't go for the most obvious, the most hype round, but things that you're like, ooh, I wonder how I could replicate something similar in my dance. Let me know in the comment section, right? And then I will see those videos and maybe I will be able to do some of them, all right? And again, if you would like to train with me on this type of subject in much more details, click on the link in the description below to find more details about that. And thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one, all right? Take care, bye.